Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I have a question. Is this a bad mixture of rum and coke? I think it is. I think I'm really going to regret my decision on this. Oh, it's not mixing very well at all. So this is not a request. No. This is, yes it was, this is a recommendation. Because I did the Alexander the Great. This is Units of History. The Macedonian silver shields. They're badasses. That's what Panda says. So, I am going to regret putting so much... Oh, just going to... Oh. It's Parrot Bay coconut rum. It's delicious, but not when you mix it like that. So this is a 26-minute video. I'm going to do 13, cut it, and do another 13. The reason why I'm trying to get my videos to about the 15 to 18 minute mark, because the average view length is about 11 minutes. And when you do a 40-minute video and people watch 11 minutes, you think, oh, okay, well, the average view. So that means I'm just trying to get less videos. I mean less time videos. I can get a little bit more. So, without further ado, video.
Is rightfully famous for his legendary campaigns across the ancient world.
Sorry.
For 13 years.
Let me restart that. It said Alexander the Great, I thought.
Alexander the Great is rightfully famous for his legendary campaigns across the ancient world. For 13 years, the Macedonian king fought battle after battle that would see him lead an army to the ends of the earth. Yet, we must acknowledge that those who marched by his side were also warriors of equal measure. But one unit in particular stands head and shoulders above the rest. The 3,000 Hypaspists, the Silver Shields. After all, these elite veterans had been fighting since before Alexander was crowned and would continue to do so long after he had died. Hailed as athletes of war with an unbroken chain of victories, they drove fear into the hearts of any enemy they faced. Today, let us dive into the incredible story of the most grizzled unit of history.
The Tale of the Silver Shields is just one small chapter from one book in the vast library that is all of human history. I've absolutely loved exploring a section of it and have always wanted to learn more at a faster pace than I can read or even collect books. Thankfully, our sponsor Blinkist has a solution. Blinkist is an app that puts the vast library of human history at your fingertips. What's more, it takes thousands of nonfiction books and uses experts to distill them down to their most...
Nah, I don't want the Cliff Notes. I want the whole thing.
The institutional origins of the Silver Shields back to the early days of Macedonian rule. It seems that in the 400s BC, the kingdom's army had undergone a series of reforms that included the formation of several elite units. These had always existed to some extent in the form of the inner circle of the heteroi, or those near the king, who formed the backbone of the monarch's political support and accompanied the ruler into battle. Scholars believe that Alexander I was the one who initially mounted these men into the first proto-units of the Hippos heteroi, or companion cavalry. It has also been speculated that he similarly established an elite unit known as the Pes heteroi, or foot companions, who acted as infantry bodyguards in the royal court and on the battlefield. However, the details of this period are quite vague. Things only start to come into focus with the reign of Philip II of Macedon. Specifically, it would be his significant military reforms around the 360s BC that would more permanently establish the unit of foot companions. Ancient sources, like Demosthenes, attest to their existence in this period, while the historian Theopompus further specifies that they were a unit of bodyguards picked from among the largest and strongest of the Macedonians. Unfortunately, little else is stated explicitly about them, and we are left to guess many other details about their nature. What were their numbers? How were they equipped? how did they fight? In this regard, various historians have put their numbers at around 1 to 3,000. It's possible they were equipped in a similar fashion to the new Sarissaphorai, but most believe they remained armed as the more traditional and flexible hoplites. Their training would have been consistent with general drill practice employed by Philip with a strict approach to discipline.
Now, Philip was Alexander's father, correct? I've seen some Philip videos. Is it Philip II? I've seen some of those videos, and I've thought about checking them out. Is it worth it? Was he an interesting person? You guys let me know. To be honest, I'll probably end up doing a video about him before this video comes out. So let's just pretend like your answer was, yeah, you should do it.
It seems that they held the right flank alongside the cavalry, as is mentioned at the Battle of Aragon Valley against the Illyrians. When Philip was assassinated and Alexander became king, the army would see further modification as it geared up to re-subdue the Hellenic world before turning against the great enemy to the east. One of these changes seems to have been bestowing the title of Pesheteroi, or foot companions, to the entire 6-unit block of the Macedonian levy pikemen. Meanwhile, the elite force, which had previously held this title, became known as the Hippaspists, or shield bearers. It's not exactly clear what spurred this change. Perhaps there was some propaganda or prestige value associated with the move, but I wouldn't read too far into this, as the difference may just as easily be a matter of notational idiosyncrasies between our limited sources who were writing from different time periods. Whatever the case, this elite force of Hypaspists would now be reorganized to meet the needs of Alexander's ambitious campaigns. At the lowest level, this meant forming a file of 16 men into a lokos, which was commanded by a lokagos. In turn, 16 of these formed a syntagmata of 256 men, while 2 of these formed a pentakosiarch of around 500 men, commanded by a pentakosiarchy. Early on, this was
I'm not going to remember any of these names.
Their basic unit structure, which would have had a few extra officers, standard bearers, and musicians attached to give them functionality in battle. Eventually, though, the Hippaspists would be grouped into larger 1,000-men chiliarchies under the command of a chiliarch. 3 of these would then form a 3,000-man regiment under the command of an archi-Hippaspist. It is speculated that much of Philip's old bodyguard of soldiers and officers would have formed the core of this group. Any holes in their ranks would have been filled with transfers or new recruits who went through the careful selection process we previously mentioned. Perhaps, though, there was some bias towards allowing politically well-connected nobles to join. In terms of their equipment,
you see this black box right here? Well, I'm going to show you something right now. Some people are concerned that they might have to go for a long period of time without power or electricity. That's why 4 Patriots is blowing.
Shut up, shut up, shut your face. Okay, shut your face. Play the video and shut your face. Shut your face. So you can play the ad, but now you can't play the video? You piece of shite. Anytime.
In terms of their equipment, each soldier would be quite heavily armed. For defense, they wore the standard linothorax or bronze cuirass, turgis skirt, and greaves when the situation called for it. The head was protected by a Phrygian helmet with cheek pieces and a tapering crest that cushioned or deflected blows from above. But most important of all would be their large hoplon shield that made up the bulk of their protection. For offense, they used the Dori hoplite spear and the Xiphos sword.
How much weight do you think they were carrying into battle? Because that shield looks like it is heavy. I'm just curious how much extra weight all that is. If it's an average, I don't want to get into weight numbers because, you know, it may not translate, but I'm just curious how much weight that would be.
The make of all this gear would likely have been of quite superior quality, given the prestigious and elite nature of the Hippaspists. Thus, organized and equipped, they made ready for war. The reformed Hippaspists were first-blooded in the Thracian campaign of 335 BC, before being readied for the invasion of the Achaemenid Empire. When Alexander crossed the Hellespont in 334 BC, he would do so with 3,000 Hippaspists, 1,000 of which were known as the Hippaspistae Basilikoi, or the Royal Hippaspists. Leading them as Archihippaspists would be Nicanor, son of Parmenion. Over the
Nicanor, was that was the kid he killed, right? And then he sent his men up to kill Parmenion. Am I correct on that?
following years, the Hippaspists would prove to be an invaluable asset which could fill a multitude of roles. For instance, in the pitched battles of the river Granicus, Issus, and Gaugamela, they acted as a key point of articulation between the infantry and cavalry on the right flank. When the situation demanded, they could fight as a regular phalanx, be dispersed among the horses in the manner of hamippoi, advance quickly across broken terrain as a flanking force, or be broken out into agile detachments for special missions. In siege battles too, they proved quite adept at storming operations and featured prominently in the taking of major cities alongside their king. The histories are studded with anecdotes of their heroic actions, which at times would cost them dearly. The commander Admetus would have his skull split by an axe while assaulting Tyre, while the officers Timander and Ardius would be felled in the siege of Halicarnassus. The Hippaspists also served an important role outside of battle. For example, they were often stationed within the king's palace or place of residence to provide security, while the royal Hippaspists guarded the inner sanctum of the king's chambers. Further beyond this, they could act as a police force. Having such a loyal source of trusted manpower would prove key on several occasions when Alexander wished to move around treasure, send top-secret letters, investigate plots, and apprehend mutineers. By the time the Macedonians made it to Mesopotamia, it appears that the original 3,000 Hippaspists had suffered some attrition. Its ranks were replenished by new recruits, while Alexander also held special competitions to choose new commanders. Details are fleeting, but it seems that 6 new Pentacosiarchs were now chosen, along with 3 new Chiliarchs, Atarius, Antigenes, and Philotas the Augean. Thus reformed, they would accompany Alexander in his rapid pursuit of Darius and later Bessus to the east. However, it's during this chase that their commander, Nicanor, son of Parmenion, would die of illness. He would be replaced as Archihippaspists by Neoptolemus. This new commander had noble roots, had served in the royal guards, and was known to be of fierce character, being distinguished as the first to scale the walls in the siege of Gaza. It was men of this temperament that would suit the Macedonian army well as it continued its campaigns into a new theater of war in the Far East.
If your commander has just scaled a wall in a battle, you have no excuses. What are you going to... Oh, no, my foot kept slipping. I couldn't get up there. So is that why you ran 600 yards away? Yep. Yeah, that's why I was hiding behind that tree with shit in my pants. Yeah, if your commander does that, what are you going to do? You have to.
Over the following years,
his life is now counting on you to get there to back him up and to help.
Alexander's army would march across the satrapies of Aria, Drangiana, Arachosia, Gandhara, Bactria, and Sogdiana. Here, the Hippaspists were used extensively in numerous sieges, pitched battles, ambushes, and special missions necessary to tame the region. Next, they would join Alexander on his campaigns into India. It is at this point that we finally see the emergence of the unit known as the Silver Shields. The ancient Roman historian Curtius Rufus states that on the eve of the Indian expedition, Alexander added silver plating to his soldiers' shields, gave their horses golden bits, and ornamented their cuirasses with either gold or silver, because he had heard of the splendid arms found among the Indians. However, it's important to note that we have other sources with conflicting stories. For instance, Diodorus Siculus anachronistically refers to the Hippaspists at Gaugamela as the Hypaspists, while Justin erroneously says that the whole Macedonian army was given silver gear and called the Hypaspists. Another clue is that we are told by two sources that after the army mutinied at the Hiphasis River and returned to the Hypaspes River, they received a fresh shipment of armor from the west. Perhaps this was when the Hypaspists got their famed silver shields.
Huh.
Clearly, there are many interpretations to be had here, but it seems scholars do tend to...
I'm going to go back to that last little section, but I'm not going to do that now. Well, I am going to do that now. Hold on.
Perhaps this was when the Hypaspists got their famed silver shields.
We're going to pause it right here. Great timing, Kris. We're going to pause it right here. This is going to be part 1, and I will come back with part 2. And until I do, I got to get myself some more rum and coke. And by the way, this was in the Invicta channel. So, I believe so. I just subscribed to their channel, so I'm going to do some of their stuff too. None of that matters for right now. Like and subscribe, or your favorite cartoon character will pass away from cancer. Yeah. So, Bugs Bunny, all them carrots ain't going to help. Have a good day. Have a good night.